Thank you for welcoming us into your headphones. I am Chema.
And I'm Eddie.
And I'm Alex.
And I am here!
Reviewing My Hero Academia, and this is the rollback.
So we're reviewing technically this is a review of My Hero Academia 2 Heroes, but really I think we're going to be talking about the whole series. Am I right, gentlemen?
Yes, we are.
We're going to be straying into it, yeah.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear, folks, I know... So Chema recommended the show to me. Alex recommended the show to me. I never followed through until it was time to watch the first film. I went ahead and watched the whole first season. I love the anime. Like, we'll get into it, but I love the anime and this movie. Wow. Alex, do you mind going forward the synopsis?
Yeah. So My Hero Academia, 2 Heroes, is a classic summer vacation. Izuku Midoriya, a student hero in training named Deku, is going to the technological paradise Island with his mentor, the legendary All Might, to visit All Might's old partner and technician, David Shield. While there, he discovers that all his classmates from UA, his hero school, are also on Island, and he gets to know Dave's daughter, Melissa. However, their school shenanigans are interrupted by criminals taking hostages, including All Might and David, and hijacking the security system. The students have to find a way to disable the security system, but on the way discover that Dave orchestrated the hostage crisis to steal a piece of equipment he developed, a device that will help the ailing All Might recover his power. Unfortunately, the villains Dave hired have other plans, taking the device for themselves and using it. All Might and the students team up to take on the villains, defeating them in a climactic battle, and go on with their summer.
Jim, I think you were the first to watch this movie. What was your very first impression? Because I think you saw this movie and then watched the show, right?
I watched the movie and then I watched the first 3 episodes, and my initial thought of the show was not negative, but not positive either. Because my first after reading that synopsis, I'm guessing we're going full spoilers for like at least the first season.
Oh yeah, hell
yes. Yeah. So, all of our have spoilers.
Sure. My first impression of the show was not positive because if you've seen the show or read the manga or whatever, you know that the show starts young Deku, who's not in a world of 80% of people with quirks or superpowers. He doesn't have one, but he wants to be the number one hero. And at first, my impression was going to be, because I knew nothing of the show when I first watched it, was, he's going to end up at the hero school with no powers, but he's going to have his advantage is going to be that he knows the hero so well that even though he doesn't have a power, that's going to be like his thing. But no, like the best superhero of all time shows up and is like, hey, do you want my power? Here, have it. And then the next episodes are like, you didn't pass the exam, but, you saved one person and you destroyed one robot. So sure, pass. And I just felt like everything was just being handed to this guy. So I kind of didn't care for it. I didn't saw like the effort. And that, of course, changed after you watched the whole first season and you see like the whole journey that he's going through. It's a very anti-hero's journey kind of thing that they're doing. And then I ended up liking it. But that's why I was at first turned off by it. And then I watched the movie and I realized that the charm of the show, while some of it is on the main character and his interactions and everything, the real charm of the show, at least for me, I said it like a billion times on my review, but it's the other characters. It's the whole class. It's 20 characters plus the 20 class members plus the teachers plus the pro heroes plus the villains. They're all super charismatic. They're all super fun. They all have very different personalities. And that, I think, is the charm of the show. And that's what I saw on the movie, because on the movie you see half of the class. And when I saw the show, I was like, oh, there's more. Great. Oh, there's the teacher, Eraserhead, who's also great. Oh, there's all the other staff members. There's the pro heroes. There's the villains. The movie is great and the movie's fun, but the show, to me at least, gets incredible when he gets to the school and he meets all the class.
So my initial impression was a little bit different just because of how I came at the show. A mutual friend of ours recommended the show to me, and when this, quarantine situation started up, I had some free time. I blazed through the first 3 seasons, about 2 weeks maybe. the show hooked me. And I told Eddie when I recommended it that it does kind of start a little slow. The hooks, they're not universal. But for me, it really, really worked. And so I saw the film in what I was told was the chronological order. I think that I heard that it was somewhere between seasons 2 and 3, between those years.
Yeah.
So I watched it almost like it was just an expanded episode,
Yeah.
Which was not... Yeah, and it's not almost not necessary because the show itself doesn't refer back to the events of the movie too much. It's very much a standalone thing. They talk about it like one time, I think. It was just like, hey, remember summer vacation when all that weird stuff happened?
Neither do we.
Remember how everyone looked really good for that one vacation that we had? And then everyone just kind of like let themselves go a bit, I guess.
Yeah. Remember when the animation was crisp and clear and higher budgeted?
The animation in this movie was incredibly beautiful, guys. Like, my God, that final fight scene. We'll probably talk more about it later on, but damn, that
double Detroit smash.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And what I really enjoyed about the animation is that obviously they had more resources to take care of smaller details, but it's definitely still recognizably My Hero Academia. It's not entirely different character models or anything like that. That's actually one of the issues that I had with another anime series, Dragon Ball Z going into Dragon Ball Super. Obviously, there's a huge time gap. The technology has advanced. They've got a different budget, but it looks like a completely different art style between those two shows, and it kind of takes me out of it. Here, though, it looks like you gave the same people double the resources, and they really got to work with it.
Yeah.
So let's start with this. When I was first watching it, like the very first 10 minutes of the film are basically like a flashback. I didn't realize that at first. I thought it was
an origin or what?
No, I thought it was a movie. Like I thought it was like a movie within a movie, one of those things, because you never see All Might's eyes.
That's true.
Yeah. When he's you mean when he's young?
Yeah. Because you never see I never see his eyes, in the show. So I thought, wait, is this like an American film or something? Are they at a movie premiere? And then as I'm watching, I'm like, oh, that's his old partner. Oh, he's gonna fuck him over real bad later on, isn't he? God, I hope not.
Well, I really enjoy that flashback sequence just because it shows kind of how tight the writing is. Even without, giving like a date, like 30 years before or something like that, you can tell that this is taking place in the past because he's got that youthful appearance, his eyes are bright, and also just because of how he acts, too. He's a young man, he's really powerful, but he does kind of take, these rash courses of action. He's not always the wisest, and Dave has to kind of keep up with him and like clean up his messes a little bit. Yeah. And so you sort of tell this is a younger All Might, as well as the dialogue, too, where you have people asking, who's that? In the show, All Might is the most famous hero on the planet, so you can kind of tell just by their writing, without them giving some heavy-handed exposition, that this is in the past.
Yeah. The animation just speaks for itself, is what you're trying to say, I think.
I'd say so, and also, they're able to give hints that things are different in the writing without having to give a title card like 30 years in the past.
Yeah.
And I might be completely wrong. Like, please, not too many spoilers when I ask this, but is the good doctor in the show after the film, or is he just a one-off character?
You mean David?
Yeah, Dave.
Yeah, a mention or two, but I don't recall an appearance. But then again, it's been a little while since I saw the later episodes.
The most that I remember is there's an episode in season 3 that's kind of like that happens like in the middle of like a plot line, and all they do is mention it's basically the whole episode is a commercial for the film, and they just show a scene of like All Might's computer with an email that's signed Melissa Shield, like invited him to the island, and that's pretty much the whole mention that they get.
Damn.
Yeah, which kind of sucks because like both David and Melissa, I think they're great characters, and I'd love to, if they got explored a little bit more, but we'll see if they do. Let's get into the real meat of the both the movie and the show. Like I said, my favorite thing about the whole show is the characters. Like I love the class. What do you guys think of the characters of Class 1A?
Well, the Class 1A characters, I mean, obviously so varied, but I also would love to see more of the Shields. Like, it was so interesting to see Melissa. She has this great introduction. She comes bouncing over the horizon on this alien-looking pogo stick that's made out of, like, nanobots. They fold into her pocket. And I think it's also interesting that just like Deku, she can go into this, like, hyper-analytical state of completely picking apart whatever she's seeing or thinking about. But her focus, instead of on superheroes, it's on technology.
It's kind of cool how also he gets to interact with someone else that was also quirkless, but found a direction that was not the same as him. Like, he probably never considered to work behind the scenes as a technician for tools for heroes. Like, his goal was always to be a hero, disregarding the fact that he didn't have a quirk. So it's never fully, it's never fully like explained who the two heroes are in the title. But to me, it's Deku and Melissa. Like, to me, it's both of them. Those are the two heroes when they talking about the movie.
I completely agree. I think there's kind of a double meaning, pardon the pun, of those two heroes, because that could mean, Deku and All Might, but it could also mean the two sets of partners, All Might and Dave, and now Melissa and Deku, because I think that a lot of the film's themes are about, hope for the younger generation and passing on the power. And there are several times throughout the movie where Dave and All Might don't even need to talk to each other. They almost have this telepathy between them. They know each other so well. Yeah. And it was a great moment to me when Deku and Melissa were able to do that same thing.
What do you think, Eddie?
So I love the characters of Melissa and Dave. I liked how they were introduced. And again, bear in mind, I'm only on season 1. Is Deku? Is he officially with? I can't remember her name. The pink with.
Ochako.
No, no.
But it's heavily implied, right?
It's funny. I'll just leave it at that. It's funny, and it's very differently done than in most action anime. And
I agree.
Yeah, and that I think that's going to eventually lead into the conversation of why Ochako is my favorite character, but we'll eventually get to that, I guess.
Well, I think that the series has this really interesting take on Ochako and Deku because they're both very awkward and both kind of shy, and they're good friends, and the fact that they get along is kind of readily apparent.
Yeah.
But there's always that sort of embarrassment that they have around each other, and I love Ochaku's introduction in this film.
Yes.
Deku and Melissa, they're talking, they're laughing, they're having a good time. Deku's getting a little embarrassed because he's just a nerd and that's his personality. Yeah. And then from behind, Ochako says, "Well, you look like you're having a great time," completely misreading the situation and causing Deku to have a heart attack.
And I love that she doesn't say it once; she said it twice. Like she goes like it looks like you're having fun, and he just turns and says like, "Why are you doing here?" And she just goes, "It looks like you're having fun."
Like he's been caught. Like man,
yes.
I love that. That actually made me laugh out loud. A literal laugh out loud.
Yeah. And that I don't know. They have some of the best chemistry I think in the whole show, but there's something really special that happens later. I'm gonna say season 3, but you'll get to that when you get to that. So those are the characters. Like I said, we see half of the class. We see, of course, Ochako. We see Jiro, which is a girl with the earphone jacks. We see Mbomo, who's a girl that can create stuff. There's Tenya, who can run really fast. There's Kaminari, who controls electricity. There's Mineta, who can throw the balls from his head. And there's Bakugo and Todoroki as well.
Bakugo is the explosion man. Todoroki is Iceman.
Icy hot, yeah.
Does any...
He's canonically referred to as that, so it's okay for me to call him that.
Does anyone else? What was the one that could throw balls from his head? Mineta.
Mineta.
He's probably the most hated character in the show.
Really? Okay, I understand why he's the most hated, but Jesus, he made me laugh like hell in this movie. Like, he was so dumb, it was hilarious. In particular, the scene where
Harem.
yes, he's falling off the side of a building and he's just yelling, Harem.
Have you ever been so perverted that you were pressured into being a hero for it?
Hey, look, we've all done a couple of stupid things to impress someone. Eddie can attest to that. He was there. So.
Oh yeah, that's a fun story for another day.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I don't personally hate Mineta. I know a lot of people hate him because like his only personality trait is that he's a pervert.
That's as customary to anime as dragons and people screaming. Like, you have to have a pervert.
Absolutely. He's not my least favorite character. My least favorite character is another one, but we'll get to that when we get to that. What do you guys think of these kids? That's pretty much all I want to talk about. I just want to talk about the class for like 2 hours.
Which is the one with the nitroglycerin?
Bakugo.
That is Bakugo, also known as Kachan.
Yeah.
Do either of you think that Kachan needs to get Vegeta, needs to get humbled real fast?
I hate him. He's my least favorite character.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't mind him.
I freaking hate him.
But then again, I didn't mind Vegeta either.
Yeah, I don't know. He's Sasuke without the backstory. He's Vegeta without the personality. He's Gaara without the strength, and he's Kaiba without the coat. I mean, he's just angry to be angry, and I don't find a reason for him. And I think he's just a freaking bully in the whole show and the movies. I think he's had 2 to 3 moments of where I can be like, okay, that was cool. But that's it.
See, I disagree.
Okay.
Well, I agree with the part about him only having, 3 or 4 moments where he's redeeming. But I think that if you kind of look between the lines and look at the things that he says, there are just cracks, just very small hints that the writers have of why he's doing these things and why he is the way that he is, and emotions that he has other than anger. Because absolutely, 90% of the time, he's yelling, he's calling someone a bastard, he's saying, die during battle to robots for no reason.
Yeah.
But occasionally, very occasionally, you'll see how he displays respect. And the only thing is, how he displays respect is mostly just sulking quietly instead of sulking loudly. Yeah. I think that he's definitely one of the less developed characters, but I wonder where that might be going. I'm intrigued as of right now as to what they're going to do with him.
Yeah. The thing is that, how to explain it, I wouldn't mind if he wasn't on display so much, if he wasn't the second or third biggest face on the posters, if he wasn't featured so much. Because I feel like, okay, I'm not going to get into the conversation of what happens in the second movie, but I'm just going to leave it at, I don't think he deserved everything that he got in that one, but we'll get to that. I don't like him. I straight up don't like him. I very much prefer Todoroki, who is presented as kind of like Gaara from Naruto, or I don't know, what was the green guy in Dragon Ball Z?
Piccolo.
He's kind of presented like almost like a dark, soothing character in the background who's super powerful. But then when he comes out in the show, he's a fucking dork. And that's what I like about him, that he's so oblivious. I don't think this is a spoiler, but there's an episode where he pretty much freezes a whole place, and there's Hagakure, who's the invisible girl, and she's always that one who's always invisible. And she's talking with the guy with the tail, and she's like, he's like, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "Yeah, Todoroki froze over all that, but I was next to him, so I was safe, and so he protected me." And then Todoroki's listening. He just goes, "I had no idea she was there. Oh my fucking god, I forgot." I
could have frozen her to death. I remember that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I like that character because of that, because I feel like that's a cool deconstruction of that dark, soothing character in the background, where I think Bakugo is very boring.
Well, I think that Todoroki is definitely a deconstruction of that archetype, simply because he does have a very dark backstory.
Probably the darkest backstory of everyone.
I mean, I would agree. His father, created him basically only to surpass All Might. He picked out a wife based on a trait that would make him more powerful. And, there was abuse in his backstory, etc.
Jesus.
But he never really carries that in a negative way to hurt other people.
No, he's super calm. and like he's not he's never like explosive towards anyone. He's just there. One of my favorite moments is this is not a spoiler because it's not plot related, but basically at some point in the later season, they all end up moving into like the school, like into dorms. Okay. And there's a whole episode dedicated to just them walking around their dorms and showing up everyone's rooms. And it's a really cool moment where they all get to show up, like their personality and everything. And when they get to his room, they show that he pretty much like brought new floors because like he wanted like traditional Japanese wooden floors in his room. And he just shows it off and is like, oh yeah, we have this room at my house. We have these floors in my house. I just wanted, something more traditional. And then we're like, why are you doing this? It's not your house. Like, it's just a room. Like, how did you reconstruct the whole floor in just a day? And he just goes, hard work.
He is very funny like that. He's got those deadpan lines.
He's very oblivious, and I like that about him. But yeah.
Can we talk about a character dynamic that I can't help but love, even though it's cringy at times, but I can't help but love it. All Might and Deku, they're everything that Goku and Gohan should have been. It's everything that Piccolo was to Gohan. The whole mentor-mentee thing. Like, I love their relationship. I love the fact that, and I was really worried that they were going to kill off All Might in the first season and Deku's life mission was going to be to avenge him. I'm so glad that I know he lives for at least a little while because their chemistry is so on point.
That episode in the first season, so sorry to interrupt, but that episode in the first season where he's training at the beach, like the whole episode is just him training at the beach. I think it's just one of the best like development episodes like in any show because like it just shows because like it spans out several months of just him training. Like they could have just done that in like a montage of a couple minutes with like a random song, but no, they made a whole episode of him training, and that's what that makes that scene at the end where he's standing on top of the garbage yelling in the morning, and it makes it so good, and their dynamic is pretty much the driving force of the show, like the two of them getting along.
What I love about their dynamic is just how earnest it is. All Might has all the ideals that Superman, not DCEU Superman, but classic Superman has, but it doesn't feel cheesy or necessarily laughable. It's definitely in a funny anime, right? But whenever he has a moment about like having to save everyone or having to do his job as a hero, it's genuinely touching to me. And the thing that I enjoy about Deku is that he's the same way, and they connect over that in a really big way. I think that's a good part of why All Might chose him.
Yeah.
It was the Steve Rogers thing where it's like someone who's never had power will respect it.
A bit. On Deku's half, I think it definitely is. And then All Might, he has this weight, right, of being the symbol of peace, of being the premier superhero who everyone looks up to. But that's never really a source of angst for him. If anything, I would say it's more of a source of strength.
Well, he how to say it? All Might is the premier superhero, you're right. He's the symbol of hope. But I never hate him for it. Like, he never gets annoying with it. It's more like, I need to do this. Like, this is a burden I bear. Not in like a, brooding, Batman kind of way, but more in like...
He takes pride in it.
Yeah, he takes pride in being the number one hero and being the guy that you want in your corner. Everyone's freaking out. Oh my God, such and such villains. There's 10 villains out destroying the city. All Might, we're going to be fine. He's got this,
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's everything you want in a hero, but somehow he manages to not be annoying.
Yeah.
He avoids the OP syndrome.
Yeah. I mean, he's very much OP, but yeah. Go ahead.
But it's not boring to watch him. Like, that's the classic trap for instance, Superman comic book writers.
Yeah.
How do you make an interesting encounter for this this person who has everything?
It's simple. I think you make him charismatic. That's it.
Yeah, well, I think that a great choice that the showrunners made was that All Might can't, technically speaking, fly. He has to jump everywhere, kind of like the Hulk does. Yeah. And I think that really plays through in his movement. It makes him very dynamic when he has to like jump from place to place. And you see that in the climactic battle at the end, where he's sort of hanging off of things and ricocheting from, metal to metal.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, one of the things in All Might, that goes to writing is there is tension when he fights. Because I remember I was stressed out at the end of season 1 when they're fighting in the dome because his power is running out. He straight up says, like, I'm bluffing right now. Like, he's pulling Vegeta. Like, I am bluffing. If they rush me, I am fucked.
Yeah.
There's a tension game there, and there was a tension game during the film where it's like, I just need to maintain this form. Like, I don't even have to, it's not even about fighting. It's about, can I hold myself together long enough out here in public?
I think it's also the fact, one part of it is the fact that he does curse. There will be times where something goes poorly for him and he'll spit out blood and be like, shit.
I like that. Yeah. Like and the same voice actor that voices All Might is the same guy that I believe does Vegeta and also does Armstrong in Fullmetal Alchemist.
Okay, I believe the Armstrong. I didn't know about Vegeta.
No, let me see. Well, we were just talking about All Might and Deku's relationship. So I think at this point in the film where we're at, they would be everything's going to shit. The entire building is going to be on lockdown. I want to say 9 is the main villain, if I'm not mistaken. That's his name. The whole building goes on lockdown. He basically has everyone as a hostage, and he forces Dave to go upstairs to unlock to open the safe so they can take the loot. Where in this case would be a device to help, quote unquote, help All Might, or quote unquote, make any villain stupidly powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, because the main villain, Wolfram, I really enjoyed how the movie treated him, because he's basically Magneto. He has the exact same power. He can control metal.
I was fucking thinking the same thing. I was like, he's a Magneto. How do we beat him? Rush him.
Except they don't treat his power the same way that, for instance, the X-Men movies do. In those movies, the metal always stays rigid, and it's almost like these giant hands are folding it. It has to crack and bend certain ways. In this movie, it was really fluid. It was almost
organic.
Like what?
It was organic.
It was. It was almost like he could control the metal like it was water. He would make these columns appear out of nowhere. He would make it shift around people. He had an ease to him that I felt really made him a threatening villain like Magneto could have been. Because there are a few comics that will do Magneto right, and in those, it always just stresses the fact that there is metal all around you, everywhere, and it is all accounted for, and it's all coming for you. And in this movie, Wolfram takes advantage of the situation he's in, this technological island. He abuses it to destroy these heroes. That's what in a way has always attracted me about both the show, the movie, and everything. Because while we have an overflow of superhero product right now, the way the powers are shown in the show have always, like, they have a classic thing, but they also have like an original new take on it. Like, for example, take Tenya Ida, the guy who can run really fast. We've seen this a million times. We've seen the Flash and everything. But he can run fast because he has freaking engines in his caps. That's freaking genius. Okay?
Yeah.
That is
painful, though.
Genius.
Those are painful. Like, was it just me, or did anyone else cringe when they saw that?
No, I thought it was freaking genius. I thought things like that are really cool. The invisible girl who's always invisible. Was she born like that? I don't know. They don't show. The girl whose powers is a frog. That's fucking good. We've never seen something like that, except for Toad in the X-Men. But other than that, we've seen. I think that the way, especially the limits of the quirks, are what make the show special. Are what makes the powers feel more unique and the takes more fresh. Like the teacher who can make the powers disappear, but only as long as he doesn't blink, and that's why he's always carrying like eye drops and stuff. I think the fact that they take powers that we already know and then they give them like a new take or like a limit is what I think makes the show stand out.
Definitely. It injects realism into these fantasies, and I think that gives it stakes that more traditional heroes just don't have, because those parts aren't being addressed. It's all hand waved.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask you something very, very small about the movie. How did you feel about Godzilla's cameo in the movie?
I laughed so hard, I smiled. So I was just like, please let him have a bigger part. Please let him have a bigger part. Please let him have a bigger part. But someone just said something that reminded me of something. Chema, me and Alex, we made the mistake of watching December Sky, Mobile Suit Gundam, Thunderbolts December Sky.
Yeah.
And in that film, we realized, well, Alex pointed it out. Partially, the tell of a good anime film is when the film is good enough, it's self-contained enough to where you don't need to watch the show to know what's happening.
Yeah.
In December Sky, I was lost half the time. I'm like, what's this? Why are they fighting? What's going on? Who are the two sides? This film did such an amazing job of like, if I already know, if I had never seen the show and I was just watching this movie by itself, man, like I didn't need to watch the show to enjoy the film.
And I'm really glad that you said that, Eddie, because that was a question that I was going to ask you. You know, someone coming in cold, is this movie something that makes sense? I thought that it did a great job of the exposition. For instance, you know, what's Deku's central personality trait other than wanting to be the greatest hero? It's the fact that he's a nerd, you know, and how they introduced that on the plane ride over with All Might just mentioning the island and Deku going into this long, extensive list of everything he knows. Anyone who hadn't seen the series would have pegged him immediately. Like, oh, okay, he's a geek. Great. I thought that the introduction to Island was really well done. And I think that Deku and Melissa are the perfect characters to take us through. Her, because she knows everything about the place and can guide Deku and therefore the audience through it. And Deku, because he's this huge fanboy visiting Disneyland, but for actual superheroes.
Yeah. And it never feels like over exposition, you know? It always feels like you're just walking with these people and you're kind of there. And you're seeing both perspectives. One person who kind of knows but hasn't been there and one that has been there their whole lives. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And any dialogue that does give you some exposition or some facts feels like it was natural. Just like in the beginning sequence, you know, everyone asking, who is that? That's natural. You know, they would do that in that situation, but it also lets the audience know, oh, okay, this is a new hero, or this is the past where he was a new hero.
Yeah. Because, like, I feel like you can watch this movie without having to watch the show, and of course you can get it. I don't think you can do the same thing with the second movie with Heroes Rising. I think that's impossible to watch without watching the whole show.
I feel like that's kind of fair, though.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, there's been, 4 seasons and a first movie?
4 seasons and a first movie, and then the Heroes Rising. It's its own beast. That's gonna be my review tomorrow. So, yeah, I have mixed thoughts on that one, but yeah, personally, I freaking love this movie. I think it's super fun. I think the animation is crisp as fuck. I think the characters are great. The interaction between them is great. The action is super fun, and there's really no. There's no loss on watching this movie. I feel like if you don't want to watch the show after this, you at least had a pretty fun ride with them. I
agree, and I wanted to ask Eddie something because you know the film's called Two Heroes. So the idea of the students working together by themselves without adults and going on their separate adventures, that's nothing new to the show. But were you disappointed, Eddie, in the fact that All Might and Deku don't actually work together until the end, that the, you know, quote-unquote two heroes don't get together until the climax? And this is setting aside, you know, my and Chema's theory that it's really about Melissa and Deku.
No, actually not at all. I thought, so I enjoyed the fact this was kind of a bit of a Spider-Man homecoming situation where it's like the main kid that we're rooting for goes against the orders of the mentor at first, you know, hey, you know, just hide, like, you know, we'll handle this. And he's like, nah, fuck that. Like, we're going to get with our class. We're going to go. We're going to act. And you don't expect anything less from a group of kids.
It won't be the last time that you're going to see that, by the way.
Definitely. And what I enjoy, too, is that All Might, the mentor, he's not mad like Iron Man was in that film, right? He says, you know, if you don't do something now, you're not a hero. I can't blame the kid. And I really enjoy how the movie, and overall, just My Hero Academia, plays with expectations. You see the same thing with Ochako's introduction. You know, she's, you know, dumbfounded by seeing Deku with another girl, and then one of their classmates, Momo, is looking scandalized, saying, like, you look like you're having a good time. and you would think, you know, in any other, like, coming-of-age movie, summer vacation movie, that's, like, something that they have to work past. He has to, like, explain himself, you know, whatever, like, rom-com stuff. The very next scene is all the girls just having a good time, getting along great, and Deku's looking relieved. Like, that worked out. Nice.
Thank God. I remember when I was watching it, as all the students are being introduced, I just remember thinking, oh, this is how they're going to get the whole class on this island. Because they made such a big deal of, like, oh, this island's nearly impossible to get on. You know, this, and this.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, okay, this is how we're going to get all the students. I didn't mind it, though.
I like how they showed also, like, oh, Momo had, like, 2 extra tickets. She could have asked anyone, but we had to, like, play for it. Like, they showed, like, a little flashback of the other girls from the class, like, pretty much playing for it. And then they also show them, like, in a hotel room, like, just hanging out. But
right.
Playing Uno.
Playing Uno, yes. Yes. That's fun.
So did you guys like the fact that they treated the powerhouses with the respect that they, you know, honest to God deserve? I like the fact that Deku isn't like the end-all be-all, like, oh, I know, I'm the number 1 kid in the class. It's like, no, look at all these other ones. You have Mr. Icy Hot, Mr. Wannabe Vegeta, the red-haired one. Damn, I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry.
The great thing about the show is that even though it has so many characters, every time that they show up again in an episode, like, then a little name tag with their powers is gonna come up. So believe me, by like the end of the second season, you're gonna have everyone memorized. Like, I
it's true. It's definitely true. And also, what's handy too about their art direction is that they have incorporated, like, little parts of a person's powers into their character design. So, like, Todoroki, he of course has that burn, so that, you know, he's half hot, half cold. Yeah. And the hair, of course.
Yeah. You got Kaminari, who's the guy who can control electricity. He's got, like, the yellow hair. He looks like Pikachu.
Exactly. He's got that streak through it. And I think that this kind of plays into one of the show's larger themes, or what I suspect is going to become a theme, wherein it's not going to be just one symbol of peace. I would speculate that as the show progresses, more and more attention is going to be paid to the fact that, like, multiple people have to be the symbols of peace, you know?
Yeah.
Because with All Might, crime went down in Japan to 6%. I think they're going to try to make the point that we need more heroes to take, you know, to step up and take that burden. Yeah. I think that's really helped by the classmates getting the attention that they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you guys think of the fact that how to explain this? Only half of the class shows up on the movie, and the other half is not there. Now, I don't consider the other half less important or lesser players, because, like, at some point, some of those characters even get their own episodes or their own arcs. I don't know. Wait, Alex, have you seen the second movie? Have you seen Heroes Rising?
I've not. No.
Okay. Yeah, because on that one, like, everyone shows up. Like no one is left behind. But Eddie, especially you, now that you've seen, like, the first season, when watching the movie, like, did you get to miss any of the other characters, or would you have wanted to know more about them?
Genuinely, I didn't. I feel like I know the core group, and I kind of was like, oh, okay, these are the guys that tested well with audiences. No, I figured that with the girls at least, because I was like, oh, okay, so the 3 less important ones are in the hotel room. The important ones are going to be here to help fight, because I thought, why is the phone jack one here? But okay.
Yeah, and then the great thing is that, you know, Phone Jack Girl is immensely powerful.
Yeah.
Is she? Yeah. I believe you. I didn't know that.
In fact,
it's more showcased in the show and after the point where you've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. Way more after the point you've seen. All right, Eddie, I have another question for you, because this is a thing that we used to do. You introduced me to the concept of shotgunning characters in movies. Which is when you see a bunch of characters and you're like, oh, I know who the people in my life would be if I saw this. You know, I'm this one, you're that one, all that. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So here you have a pool of infinite characters. What do you see there? Like, do you relate to any of them? Did you saw yourself in any of them? Did you saw any people, like, that you know in them?
Who are the 3 of us?
That's the question. Yeah. In a way.
Oh God. Okay.
Cause like I have a character, I have a couple of characters that I definitely see myself in. Like not the ones I want to be, but like the ones that I know I've been at some point. But I don't know how you see it.
Shit. You're gonna put me on. I feel like I'm gonna be a douchebag if I'm honest about it.
This is fun.
I shotgun Deku. I
Okay.
think I'm dumb enough to say, yeah. I think I have a Superman complex. I know I have a Superman complex. I think I identify with Deku definitely by country mile.
Okay.
Now, Alejandro, this is meant to be nothing but a complete compliment. I think you're. Which one is fake Vegeta?
Alex, I don't know you that well, but do you have anger issues? Like, is that a thing?
Not on the podcast.
Okay.
No. I was gonna say that because I saw a meme the other day where like it's fake. Okay, what's fake Vegeta's name? I need to start learning this. Like,
Bakugo.
Bakugo Kachan.
Bakugo.
Yeah. He's the only one that doesn't have like an official hero name.
So I remember there was a thing where I saw a meme where Bakugo is like standing on a platform, like number one. He's like, "Yeah, I'm number one. I did it." And like you see the other students around, they're all holding signs like, "Yeah, we all knew we could do it. We all believed in you." And he's yelling at them, "Shut up!" Like he is the best. Like so Alex, there you go. There's a compliment. I truly believe you are the best.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Chema, again, let me explain before like it goes south. Who's Alejandro? You refer to this guy as Batman, one of the teachers.
Eraserhead.
Chema, you're Eraserhead.
You know what? I used to work at a middle school, and I hardcore related to Eraserhead in some of those moments. You know.
Yeah, you got an actual compliment, Chema. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Well, also like Eraserhead has it where it counts. Like he's chilling laid back. But when it comes
he's not
right
chill
down to
laid back. He's stressed all the time.
Is he? I always got the impression that he didn't give a damn.
He has 20 children to take care of. He's stressed. Look at his eyes, bro. He's always stressed.
But just from like season 1, I was like, huh, okay.
He's the same in the whole show.
Why do you think he carries a sleeping bag with him at all times?
He's perpetually stressed.
There's an episode where everyone has to choose like a hero name, and they show like a flashback of him when he was a student, and he's with what's his name, the guy with the microphone,
God, that's gonna
something
bother.
Mike. Yeah. He's a professor that his power is like he's got a big voice. So they're both students. Like they show him when they're teenagers. And he's like, "Oh, you haven't chosen a name?" And he's like, "I don't want to be in the media. I don't care. Like, whatever." It's like, "Oh, you should be a Eraserhead." He's like, "Sure, whatever." And then that's the other flashback. Like, he's like, "Sure, guess I'll go play that." Like he doesn't care.
Present Mike.
Yeah, present Mike. Yeah. Weirdly enough, the character that I related to the most, because I feel like I was a lot like that in high school, was Kaminari, who's the electric guy. I feel like I was very much like that in high school. Like I was a little bit perverted, but I was also like, kind of stupid. So that helped because those two things go really well together. And now as an adult, how do I explain this? There's a character in season 4. His name is Fat Gum, and that's the character that I think I relate to the most now. He's actually voiced by in the dub. He's voiced by Kyle Ebert, who was a narrator in Dragon Ball. So he's given like his voice in the dub is really good. And he has probably one of my favorite moments, like top 2 favorite moments in the whole show. But that's the character that I relate to the most. You'll meet him when you meet him, I guess.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Alex, who do you, like yourself, who do you think is you?
Yeah.
Oh, who do I? None of them.
What about Icy Hot?
They've got all these really good qualities.
Wait, Alejandro, Icy Hot. Sorry, Alex. Redo.
Either is fine. They are both my name. Yeah, I would be genuinely honored. I don't think it's accurate, and I think that if you told him that, he would freeze me to death. But okay.
Actually, weirdly, I feel like you reacted the same way that he reacts when he's given like any piece of information. So I feel like that confirms the theory that you might be a little bit like him.
Oh dear. Oh
yeah.
Oh, I'm being figured out on the internet. No.
Good. Nice.
Very good.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Question I have for Eddie, and only Eddie, because this is his part of the movie, and he had to have been taking notes. What did you think of the music here?
Oh man, the music had me pumped. Like the music, and every time All Might speaks, like I genuinely that voice actor, whoever voices All Might, needs to like make an audiobook of like inspirational quotes and like, hey, you're gonna get your office work done. You will be great. Like, you know, like all that. That individual needs to make a book and record, because I would listen to that every time I need any kind of inspiration to do anything. This lawn will be the greatest lawn in the entire neighborhood. Others will relish in, you know.
Have you got into the episode where you hear his ringtone?
I have not.
Okay. So I'll spoil it. His ringtone is his voice saying, "A phone call is here. A phone call is here."
It's beautiful.
And I think it's available to like download. I think you can like have it.
Oh, I'm certain.
Yeah.
But no, the music was outstanding, especially that climax, going in between guitar riffs and some like minor classic orchestra, like just going back and forth in that, it just sounded incredible.
There's a piece of music that comes up repeatedly in the show, and I think it shows up in the movie. It's called "You Say Run," and that's like the main battle theme that shows up in the show. And every time that comes up, you just know shit's about to go down. That's like
All Might's theme.
Yeah, that is like when Ash puts his hat and he like puts it to the back, like shit's about to go down.
Or when Tommy busts out the screwdriver.
Yeah. That's when when Goku's hair starts to go up, that's when shit's about to go down.
When Gohan stops smiling and goes Super Saiyan 2, he decides he's gonna rip the wings off the butterfly.
I have one thought on Gohan, and it was the thought that made me want to stop watching Dragon Ball Z. Do you remember that episode when he was gonna fight Frieza and Gohan shows up in his dad's uniform and you're like fuck, he's gonna get him, and then this man just beats the absolute loving shit out of Gohan, and that's the second that you stop believing in Gohan.
Oh god, I remember that. He literally dragged his face into the dirt. It was just like, this is so easy.
It's like this is why I stopped. Like, this is just never gonna work.
And they kind of succeeded with the Cell Saga. He came full circle. He became All Might.
One question that I wanted to pose to you both is that in the series, we all know that Ochako and Deku are, the show's kind of pushing them together. They're love interests.
Yeah.
In the movie, I wanted to ask, did either of you get that same feeling from him and Melissa?
Yes.
It's an interesting question. I personally don't, but that's because I crave a lot more male-female friendship in media, which I don't think there's that many. And I think that while both Deku and Melissa had a lot of things in common, what's the word? I don't think there's for once. I don't think she's gonna pop out again. Did I think they have good chemistry? Yes, absolutely. Did I see it romantically? I personally didn't, but that may be also because I'm biased and I love Uraraka and I just want good things for her. But I don't know. I get why people see it, but at the same time, I think there could be just more to it. I mean,
why people see it? Is this like a thing online?
Or like they get shipped together?
I mean, people definitely ship it, but she hasn't popped out again, so.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, practically, there's not really a way that it can happen because these people just do not exist for all intents and purposes in the show. But I'm just saying, as far as this movie goes.
Oh yeah, I'm on the boat where they had really good chemistry. That I don't think immediately translates to romantic chemistry, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Yeah.
Ed, what's your thought on this?
Yeah.
No, actually, I kind of hope. I liked him and Melissa going back and forth, going forward. I like the fact that she was kind of his tech. I would be fine if they stayed friends. I want Melissa back. I think she's an interesting character She was an interesting character in the movie, and I think she would be an interesting character in the show. There could even be a bit of a rivalry there with her and Ochaka. Like, maybe she really likes Deku or whatever, but him and Melissa just have better chemistry or whatever. I don't know.
It's the thing with Ochako is that it's complicated.
Yeah.
The very definition of complicated.
It's weird. It's weird, but in a good way, because I think what they end up doing with Ochako, I think it's something that I've never seen in anime. Like, I think it's totally its own thing, and which is part of the reason. What?
She leaves him?
No, it's a spoiler. I'm not gonna get to that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for respecting that.
Because it's a good part of her development, but you'll get to that when you get to that. What else?
What's called? So all right. So there's a point where all the students are having to separate to get to the top floor, get to the 200th floor. All this, for lack of a better word, shit is going down. And they begin to split up into teams. As they're going through the levels, like, are you guys thinking, oh, the writers could have done this better, or, oh, hey, they should have done that? I mean, do you have any notes on how they could have improved, that part of the film, the tower, going up?
I'm going to leave you first, Alex.
So for me, I kind of enjoyed the teams that they got put into. I thought that it worked together pretty well. Initially, when Todoroki and Bakugo and... Oh, I'm forgetting the redhead's name, whose quirk is hardening. What was that?
Kirishima.
Yes. When Todoroki, Bakugo, and Kirishima are together, that I didn't necessarily like, just because Todoroki and Bakugo are such opposites that they almost have nothing to say to each other. Todoroki would talk to him if they were directly fighting, maybe. But later on, well, in other parts of the film, especially when Todoroki and Momo and Lita are together, I really like the chemistry between them, because they're really sensible characters.
Yeah.
And I enjoy their interplay between them.
Yeah. I freaking love Ida. I think he's just such a force of personality. And, because you see that guy, and I have a friend who's a lot like him. Like, he even does the hand movements and everything. So I think but he's the character that most of the time I forget that he's there, and that's a weird thing, because when he's there, I really, really enjoy it. When it comes to the teams and the way that they're split up, I kind of didn't really mind, because at the end of the day, the movie is just an excuse to show off the characters and their powers and high quality, crisp, beautiful animation. And I think that was like a little tease of what ends up happening in the second movie, where no spoilers, but there's an opportunity for all the characters in the class to basically show off their power in great magnitude, and we get like a little taste of that of that here. I don't really have any notes or how they could have done it better, because to me they did it really good, and because I see it, the movie. What was the purpose of the movie? It wasn't to move the plot. It wasn't to introduce new characters, because they're not going to show up again. It was just to show off the characters that we already know and have an excuse to spend some more time with them. And
agreed.
In my opinion, they succeeded. So I don't really have notes. I love the movie the way it is. I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah. One thing that I would say is I really liked that they had sort of the dwindling party. Like, as you went on, more people had to stay behind to hold forces off.
Yeah.
I liked that Ochako was one of the final three, because it was a good, it was a high watermark for her character, that she was using her power to let Melissa and Deku go on ahead, rather than being jealous or any of that stuff that you might expect from a regular movie about, high school kids. She's kind of a hero first and foremost, and she, I guess, trusts Deku. I think this is a good sign of that. So she lets them go off because they're the ones who have to complete the mission.
Yeah.
I liked this film is full of cliches, but it never gets exhausting or like.
It has fun with them.
Yeah, like it's not. Yeah. It never tries to like, oh, gee, like this is happening. What's gonna, they stop it dead. They stop like the jealousy thing, between the girls. They stop that dead in its tracks immediately. Same thing with characters. Being, what was that? The little pervy one, like that right there. Mineta. They take all these little cliches, but they're not cringy with it. They don't try and hide it. They embrace it and they have fun with it.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I think that My Hero Academia is great at deconstructing tropes and also putting realism into them, just like we mentioned with the powers. Yeah, I think it has a lot in common with like One Punch Man in doing that, kind of playing with people's expectations.
Yeah. I compare it more to a game like Persona 5. I don't know if you two have played it.
I haven't.
Okay,
have the chance.
so it's it does like a similar thing where like they introduce a character and you're introduced to that character from from the way that everyone perceives them, like not the way that they, because you don't that character is introduced, but you don't talk to them until after you hear what everyone else has to say about them. And then when you do meet them and you do like pass your time with them, you realize that they're a completely opposite person. And I feel like the same way, the same thing is done in this show and with these characters. Because even though some of them represent like a specific trope, there are moments, even if they're small, because it's a big cast, where you get to see like a little bit of their backstory or a little bit more of their personality. Because like, for example, take Mineta, for example. He's every scene that he's in, he's gonna make a pervy comment. But then there's this arc when they have these exams and they put them like in order, like the 20 of them, and he shows up near the top. So he's super smart, but that's not really showcased that much. And I think that adds to the characters, and that's what makes them I think more complex. And the more that seasons pass, you start to see them, like I said, have their own arcs and have their own episodes. So there are episodes when sometimes one of them shows up and the rest does, and the rest don't, even if they're before considered a minor character. So I think the fact that it's a show helps. The fact that it's serialized helps. If this was a movie or a movie series, I don't think we'll have this great of development, because they also take their time to like stop, breathe, and just show the characters just hanging out together. No, like I said before, I think they had a purpose, they fulfilled it, and I'm not really one for I will only nitpick if absolutely necessary, and the purpose of this movie was not to be nitpicked, was just to have fun. So
I was actually asking Ed.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't actually. I was gonna say. So one question I want to ask you guys is: bear in mind, I'm only watching from season 1, so I don't have any knowledge of season 2. I saw, from what I can tell from season 1 and this film, there's a lot of character progression as the seasons go, and we're gradually growing with them. You guys mentioned that they eventually move into the school. Do you think as time goes, we're going to get to see episodes, seasons, or films where they're actual heroes? Like they go straight up, get to the pros when they get to that point. Are we going to see that?
The thing is that the show's called My Hero Academia. If they graduate school, it's not about the school anymore.
I might see something where they might keep My Hero Academia focusing on a younger group of students, perhaps, and then occasionally having maybe like a movie that showcases the older characters as full pros. Something like that seems more believable to me.
Yeah. The creator Horikoshi has said that he could make the show as long as like One Piece, but I
Please don't.
Yeah, but I don't think you can make. I don't think you can make that much with high school kids. Can you really?
Well, I mean, like that 70s show, I guess.
We all know how bad that failed in the end. But I mean, I don't know. He could, in theory, extend it out, and Naruto and then Naruto Shippuden. I could go from My Hero Academia to My Hero.
I mean, the characters are growing. If you see them from how they look in season 1 to how they look in season 4, like their outfits change. They look like Deku looks ridiculously different, because like you can see in the animation that he gets bulkier. He gets a little, because he's a short kid, which means that even if he gains muscle, he's still gonna look like a kid. But there's something about the way that he's drawn, and the other characters as well, where they start to look a little bit more with more features. Especially the hands. I mentioned in the review that for some reason this guy draws hands in a very, very specific way where they have a lot of personality. And I think, will that eventually affect the plot? I don't know. I would love to. I would love to see, Deku eventually fulfill his mission. But if it is, then that's the end. I don't know what hardships he's going to go through, or the rest of the characters. But I'd love to see that. I like I said, I love these characters, and I would follow them to whatever storyline they want to make. So I'm good with following them for. I've never seen One Piece, but I'll follow them for however long One Piece is.
I think One Piece is still going.
It is, yeah.
It's been like what, 14, 15 years? Let's not go down that road.
Yeah.
So at this point, I think we can kind of jump into the twist, quote unquote, and then to the climax. Twist being is that the doctor, Dr. Dave, Doc Dave, the bastard, the traitor Dave, the coward Dave. I'm kidding. That Dave orchestrated the whole thing. It reminds me of a quote from Jurassic Park 3, which is a terrible film to quote, but I'll quote it. Some of the worst things that have ever happened were done with the best of intentions. In this case, stealing a device that could amplify a quirk. Initially, he wanted to use it to help All Might, but now it's, obviously in the hands of a villain. Go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that the film, even aside from the fact that he should have been honest with his friend, or he should have had faith in the future, etc. I think the film also implies that the device sort of burns out the user. I mean, I think that we kind of see that happen to Wolfram at the end, where he sort of goes insane.
I didn't think it affected that much. I thought it was how to explain it. I kind of went into the movie knowing that in the end of that if you know the plotline now, you know that it was probably not going to have a lot of consequences. I mean, Deku also gains like an arm thing that helps him work through it, which ends up focusing his power, which I think leads to one of my favorite lines in the movie, which is when Melissa tells him like, "Oh, you learn how to use it. That's awesome." And he goes, "Yeah, I never knew how to take it off." I'm sorry, I don't know how to take it off. But then that thing ends up breaking. So,
dude, double Detroit Smash. What do you expect?
What kind of Bigoron sword shit is that? I mean, if it wasn't gonna stay, then
Well, it's also the fact that there's really no reason not to just order like 1,000 from her.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's web shooters run out eventually.
Yeah.
He just makes some more,
But also, the thing is that here's the only thing that I think affects, if you haven't seen the show, which is one of the big things from season 1 and like a good chunk of season 2 is Deku learning to control his power without breaking his body.
Right.
And in the movie, when it starts, when he's doing that little contest against Kachan, he's able to control it not flawlessly, but better than he does in season 1. So he eventually learns how to do that when he does something. I'm not gonna say. And then he comes back and wows the class with that. And here they just see it as normal because he's been able to do it for a while. And that I do think affects a little bit in the movie especially if you've seen like only the first season of the show. Because if I'm not wrong, by the end of the first season, he's still breaking his fingers and arms and legs and everything.
Oh yeah, I remember he broke his finger and he tried going full force on that weird creature that absorbed All Might's hits.
Yeah.
So, quick question for both of you before we jump deep into the climax. Which fight did you favor? And bear in mind, I only have one boss fight to compare it to. All Might versus Nomu. The failed crow brain experiment.
There will be more of those.
I believe you. Okay, so that one, or the 2-on-1 fight between All Might Deku versus Wolfram. I will take double Detroit Smash any day of the week. That's top 5, one of my favorite fights in the whole show and movies.
Yeah, for me, neither one of them are particularly exceptional. For me, I think I would probably pick the Nomu over this one. Although I will admit that ending fight, that ending move, the double Detroit Smash, it's very good. But the fight as a whole, I'd probably give to the Nomu.
There's something really cool about that Nomu fight when All Might comes in and like takes off his tie and is like, "Fuck yeah, I'm here."
Shit just got real.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like how he says I like when they're trading blows at one point, and he sends him flying. He says, "Man, in my heyday, it would have taken 5 punches. Today, it took me over 300." Like, oh, is that how many he threw?
Exactly. And also, this is like his low point.
Yeah.
When in this fight, did you obviously, there has to be some degree that okay, All Might and Deku are going to win this fight clearly. Yeah. But did they ever manage to suspend your disbelief enough for you to just not even be thinking, okay, when are they going to win? More like enjoying the spectacle of the battle.
Not in this movie. Not in this movie. I think I knew they were going to win, but the journey is more fun than the destination. So, yeah. The fact that the animation was so pretty is what helped also.
Definitely, and I enjoyed the fight kind of on its own merits. I thought that if there was any risk, it would be to the new characters, because, I mean, it keeps it nice and self-contained, right? Characters introduced for a movie, doesn't appear afterward. Well, what can you do to add stakes but kill that character? But no, I enjoyed that sequence. Particularly, there's one shot where Dave is on the ground. This is after he's been shot, and he's looking up, and he sees All Might from the opening sequence, his memory, and then it superimposes Deku on him in the exact same pose. And that, to me, was just really touching. I thought that was a really high point of the movie.
Mm-hmm. The show and the openings have a lot of moments like that I really, really like. I love in the first opening, it ends with like a Deku throwing a punch, and it's like it cuts off and it's All Might and it comes back and everything. I like how when the characters come out for the first time with their costumes, like Deku has like these two ears, and which All Might immediately points out that looks like his hair. There's a lot of moments like that, and I think they managed to do a good balance of mirroring these two characters, one at the end of his journey and one at the very start.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think it's also one of the show's central conflicts. Kind of, did All Might choose too late? You know, is there going to be a quick enough training for Deku so that he can step in? Because All Might is kind of declining really quickly. And what impressed me about the movie, watching it again after I went further in the show, is that they managed to include that here. Because Deku is just like you mentioned, at the very beginning of his powers. He doesn't have any kind of control over the majority of them, right? He's at like 5%.
Yeah.
Whereas All Might is actively struggling against his time limits. He's actively not as strong as he used to be. On the readout, it shows that he's gone to like a third of his full power, something like that.
Yeah. It's very hard to talk about this without spoilers, so I'll be careful. But really, all I can say is that this gets touched upon. There's a character in season 4 that specifically mentions the lateness of his powers.
Definitely.
But I can't, like I said, I can't talk about that without spoilers. So I don't know.
Thank you for that, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, it's okay. There's a lot of moving factors and a lot of moving parts here. Have you even met the principal of the school?
Yes, and I'm wanting to know what the hell is his power, because he's like the most adorable little rat ever. I want to know why does this guy command so much respect? What the hell is he?
His power is that he's an animal who has a quirk, and animals don't have quirks. And his quirk is that he's super smart. That's it. Like, so smart that he learned how to talk and now commands a school of superhero children.
That's it?
That's it.
What do you mean that's it? He's a superhuman like dog.
Look, man.
Let me ask you, Eddie. Let me ask you. Has your dog ever been principal of a school?
Look, man. This is not Dragon Ball Z, where a talking animal can become High Chancellor. Okay, there's a big difference.
Really? Because Principal Nesu commands a lot of respect. One of my favorite moments from
respect from one person. Sorry, go on.
One of my favorite moments from the manga is there's a moment when Professor Aizawa, a Razorhead, is talking, and the principal just comes out of his what's it called, of his scarf, like he just comes out and he starts talking, and he just goes like, we have chairs for you, and he goes, no, this is more comfortable. He just starts talking. Yeah. Oh god, that's great. Okay. Last thing. How do you guys feel about the comedy of the present in the movie? Because I think it's a big part of the show. While the action obviously is the most important thing. How do you guys feel about the comedy in the movie?
I'm a big fan. I mean, obviously, My Hero Academia is among my top shows in anime. I think that they use comedy really well. I think they break up some moments really beautifully with it. The sense of humor is just for me. I mean, it makes me laugh out loud. I'm really fortunate in that way, I guess.
Yeah. Eddie?
The humor to me hits on all points. I genuinely, it's hard. I'll often watch a series that will make me go, huh, that was funny. It's not often I find a show that makes me like straight up actually laugh. But this show does, and this movie did. Not just obviously the harem part, but I mean,
but it helped.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it speaks to the strength of this show that I feel pumped up when All Might speaks. You know, I laugh. So I like the fact that this show makes me, it inspires you. It makes you laugh. It makes you mad or angry or disparaged. And it makes me stressed out. And I like it. I like this show.
What about you, Chema? What's your thought on the humor here?
I freaking love the humor in both the show and the movie. I think it encapsulates, like I said, something very specific that also manages to be its own thing. Like you probably seen these jokes or these characters in other pieces of media, but I think just the fact that how they all fit together is what works, and the humor is also a big part of that. My big thing with Deku is that he's a main character. He's an action main character who's actually super sensitive. And in another show, I feel like that would be a character that you would laugh at. But in this show, you somehow end up laughing with them and crying with them, which he does quite a lot. And that's what I like about him. I like that he's a sensitive main character. I don't think we've seen a lot of those in a genre like this. You know, in another anime, another action anime, like Todoroki would be the main character. And in this one, no, we have like a very sensitive character that's got like a really healthy relationship with his mom. You know, he's got like a very big admiration for his mentor in a way that I don't think happens very often. Like the mentor relationship is very fanboyish, but also, you know, like I said, you don't laugh at him, you laugh with him because you understand him. You know, I think at some point one of us has like each one of us has loved something so much that you feel like you know everything about it, and when you hear something that you don't know, your immediate thought is bullshit. I should know that, you know. and Deku goes through that, and when he does something like that, especially in later seasons, because I thought for 1 second that we're gonna drop that. I thought that we're gonna make him super serious, but no, he stays like that. You know, he freaks out when a pro hero shows up, or when he learns a new fact about All Might that he didn't know. And I think that surrounds the whole humor of the show. You never laugh at them. You always laugh with them, because even if one of them is being made fun of, you can put yourself in the shoes of the character that is saying that, and the genuine camaraderie of all these characters flows very well, and that leads up to really, really good humor.
I really agree. And I think it's one of the film's strengths in that they can give you enough exposition to be on Deku's side, even if you haven't seen the show. They give you just enough of his backstory, and they cut it like a movie. The shot I'm thinking of specifically is, I believe it's Melissa explaining that she's quirkless, and Deku has this very quick flashback of him wanting to be a hero, and then the doctor saying, you better give it up. In the show, you know, that whole sequence, right, of his childhood takes up 10 minutes, maybe. Yeah. But in the movie, you know, very, very fast, maybe half a minute, and you understand where Deku's coming from, what happened to him. And in my opinion, I have to be kind of biased here because I've seen the show, but I think it's enough to get you on his side for the movie.
I was going to ask, and Chema, please feel free to correct me on this one.
Sure. You never have to ask me. I always will.
You asshole. This is a Shaolin Jump.
Shonen Jump. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of their ad mangas, correct?
Yeah. So same people that did like all those big ones: Naruto, One Piece, Dragon Ball, Fullmetal Alchemist, all those.
Is it just me? Like, how do they keep knocking it out of the park every time?
Well, they're kind of like the BBC of action anime. It's kind of hard to not be the best when you're the only one.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I gotta assume other people have tried, but how is it that, like, Dragon Ball Z, arguably the most influential anime in the Western world? I
would agree that it's that it's arguably.
No, definitely. Like, no, here's what I mean. I think it's the gateway anime for a lot of people. Like,
Definitely.
I watched Dragon Ball Z first, and then I started watching other stuff. You had Naruto, which, you know, at this point they're on like the third version of the series with his son.
Yeah.
Obviously you have One Piece that's gone on for over a decade and a half. Bleach, which went on for God knows how long.
Too long.
I've heard those criticisms, but overall, Shaolin Jump seemingly, you know, it knows how to punch out a show like this. But I think this is the first time I've ever seen it where they're making a show about a character that obviously you root for, but he seems more fleshed out, more human. There's more to him than, you know, your basic tropes.
I think that that's just a byproduct of art kind of advancing as we go along. I mean, if you look at, just take for instance Seinfeld, right? Show from the 90s, hugely influential, really a keystone of comedy. But if you watch it now, not all of the jokes land. It's still a funny show, in my opinion, but we, I think, have become so accustomed to the tropes that Seinfeld invented that we can kind of take it for granted, because the art form has progressed using the progress that it made, and so now we just kind of expect some of the tricks that they use.
What's the deal with shonen? What's
Exactly.
the deal? They yell and they got more powerful. I mean, what is it?
Who are these people? Exactly. And I think it's just the fact that, you know, the writers and the artists that make manga and anime and just other art currently are the consumers of all of this influential art that's been produced prior. So they're always looking to play with things and experiment and improve upon it.
Yeah. Look at Horikoshi, who's the manga artist who created My Hero Academia, the story and the drawings. He's young. He's like 30-something. So, and he mentioned that he was influenced a lot by, of course, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Bleach, Fullmetal Alchemist, all that. So it's kind of weird to see him in that position where he's now the leading artist in that, because I don't know, it's like a brand new director working with Steven Spielberg on his first day. You know, it must be a dream come true for him, especially because he's so young. And I don't know. I read this interview that like when My Hero Academia passed 100 chapters, like the cover of the Shonen Jump like magazine where like the new chapters come out was a drawing of Deku made by the guy who created Naruto. And like, because that was like a present, like hey, you made it, you're in the big leagues. And apparently he like cried over that because like that was like a huge compliment. Yeah,
that's a beautiful. Genuinely, I would like to print out like an HD copy of that meme, of that pic, and like post it somewhere, because to me that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a super big deal. Yeah, and that's why I say like he's super young, but he you can tell that someone knows the greats, and he's taking that we know and twisting it into a new thing, and he's doing a bang up job at it. So great for him.
Alex, I don't remember. Did you give your opinion on the whole Shaolin Jump thing? I think you did. I remember. Okay, yeah, I remember you did.
Final thoughts. I said in my review, this is a super fun ride. Do you need to watch the show? No, but this can be your gateway into watching the show, because it's a great world. It's big. It's got a lot of characters. Everyone's fully developed. The humor's great. The music's great. Animation's banging. I love the movie. I love it for what it is. I don't want it to be anything else. I love the movie. I think I scored it an 8 out of 10.
Alex?
Yeah, so I definitely agree. I think that this is a near perfect example of an anime series making something that is self-contained, something that contains the essence of the show and gives you kind of a nice overview of all the characters and the plot and the spirit. I thought that the action could have been done a little bit better, but I think that the character interactions and the humor and just the world itself make this a definite worthwhile watch. I'd give it an A-.
Nice. Okay. I think I'm gonna solidly agree with both of you. I don't have much to criticize. I have nothing but praises for this film, for its characters, for its action sequences, for its music, its animation. I'd be inclined to give this film a solid A as well. I completely agree. This film is definitely worth a watch. You don't need to watch the anime to like this film. Like, this is one of those few films that if you put it in a theater, people will go watch it because it is that damn good. It's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! Pyramid of Light where, like, you need to know everything. You need to know the background. No, this self-contained, good to go. You already know the rules going in.
If you're listening to us on YouTube, you can follow us on any of our links down below.
If you're listening to us via podcast, please subscribe. We greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to hear more about our thoughts on movies, go to therollback.net.
I've been Chema.
I've been Eddie.
And I've been Alex. And this was The Rollback.